Good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good morning, good day, everyone. First of all, thank you, Delhi Power BI user group, for this opportunity to speak. And today I'm going to talk about Fabric and specifically how Fabric can empower citizen BI professionals, the self-service users, right? Okay. Quick introduction of myself. I am Swayam. I work with the Fabric Customer Advisory team at Microsoft. I'm a program manager there. I work with different enterprises to make sure Fabric is successful, right? I've been working with MSBI Suite for more than 13 years now, working with different delivery and enablement teams. And believe me, it's an exciting journey. Exciting learning journey, I should say. Good. Quickly going through the agenda. Not much. I'll keep it short, more demo-sided. So we'll have a quick context on what is Fabric, what Fabric does, how can data teams leverage Fabric. This is one of the most important topics. We'll pick this up. How do we enable Fabric? How do you enable Fabric as a Power BI user or a new user maybe? And then we'll dive into a quick demo comprising of an end-to-end scenario of how a Power BI user or even a self-service user can start using Fabric, right? Good. Let's move ahead. Fabric, everything as a service, right? I'm quite sure none of us has missed this paradigm shifting announcement from Microsoft last week of May. It's been huge. When I first learned about Microsoft Fabric, I'm fairly new in Microsoft, I should say. It's just a year, but I was impressed by the innovation. I mean, how it can reshape how everyone accesses, manages, and acts on data and insights, right? Being a Power BI evangelist myself, I am working with data-driven organizations, different organizations. I knew it was a challenge to connect every data source and analytics service together. Now, it was a challenge to work with n number of data teams and then the IT team, right, to stitch everything together. But now it is all possible in a single AI-powered platform called Fabric, right? To begin with, Fabric platform is a data lake-driven architecture as a unified data lake, right? It's called as one lake. Consider it as one huge Azure data lake Gen 2, right? It serves as one location to store all your data, eliminating the need of data silos for your organization, and of course, establishing the data culture, right? So all individual developers can start provisioning Fabric workspaces or Fabric workloads, and everything will automatically store in one lake, right? So every experience like data engineering, data warehouse, data factory, Power BI, real-time analytics, everything will have one lake as the native store, right? How does this help? Now, discovery and data sharing are quite straightforward. You see, when everything is one place, everything can be managed centrally, right? Everything can be compliant with policies and security settings, which is set up centrally, right? It's so easy. Right. Now, one lake also, as you can see here, has something called shortcuts. The shortcut capability is something very new. It won't be new, but new in Fabric. As such, you can mount your past storage capabilities, even from other clouds in Fabric. That means you don't have to copy data from, say, Amazon S3 buckets to Fabric. You just can mount the or point the folders, and the data can automatically be accessed by the user, right? Let's quickly talk about the Fabric experiences, a range of experiences that you can see here. You can see Synapse Data Engineering, which has a Spark platform for all kind of data transformations at scale. You have Data Warehouse, which has industry-leading performant data warehousing capability. You have data science to do all kinds of machine learning and Spark for model training. You have real-time analytics to query and analyze large volumes of data in real time. You have Data Factory, which consists of data flow, Gen 2, and even the pipelines, integration, data integration with Power Query Engine, and of course the capability of Azure Data Factory, right? And of course, last but not the least, Power BI, on which this whole platform is based on. All kind of business intelligence tool with, where you can turn all your data to decisions. Right? Not only this, you can see there is a central product experience, a standard product experience, a single unified product experience, a single compute and storage, a single governance and security mechanism, right? Where your Fabric tenant admin can manage centrally all the groups and permissions, configure all the data sources, gateways, and monitor usage and performance. Great, isn't it? And not only this, your Fabric is integrated with Purview, Microsoft Purview, information protection, and they can help your organization classify and protect sensitive data to using sensitivity labels. I think you already know about sensitivity labels. If you are a Power BI user, right? Great. Now it's there in Fabric too. Right? As you can imagine, Fabric is based on Power BI SaaS foundation, software as a service foundation. So every component is centrally managed within the environment, right? And as you have seen in the last slide, it's an umbrella term for 3 main products, right? Including some new products like Data Activator. So SaaSification of all these products. Absolutely mind-blowing innovation, isn't it? Right. So let's talk about how data teams can leverage Fabric. Now, Fabric's one-lake architecture facilitates collaboration between data team and IT team by, and saves time and saves effort, because traditionally you have to spend enormous amount of time to provision resource. Maybe Synapse, maybe Data Factory. You have to go to the IT team, say, okay, I need a resource group. You need to get the subscription, which subscription you would like to have, and different organizations have different methodologies or different guidelines to those. You have to get n number of approvals, and only after a certain period of time you will get your resource provisioned, right? Also, not only this, the data engineer and the data analyst role separation meant that there was an extra conversation that needed to happen, right? To ensure that the data engineering is doing correct curation for data analyst to utilize that data, right? But now, minus everything, minus the provisioning, minus maintenance, minus separate performance monitoring, minus separate governance, Fabric can make things easier, right? And just think about this. It's a known interface for Power BI users, right? It's a known interface for almost all the data analysts in globally, right? So if you know how to use Power BI, if you have seen the Power BI service, it would be a very known interface for you, right? We'll go through the interface in a bit, right? Let's talk about empowering data personas alike. Currently, you have a data engineer who can go into Fabric, simplifying your data model curation, and the data analyst can, in the same environment, can take that curated data and put up a data model. As easy as that, right? Without everything is stitched up, everything is tailor-made for you, right? Data scientists can now have easier way to integrate data science capabilities within Fabric, right? So data engineers curate the data, data scientists can automatically get the data from inside the same environment, right? As I said, it's quite a paradigm shift in terms of how Power BI users interact with and visualize data. But Fabric has elegantly divided in this whole experiences into tailored experiences, right? So as a Power BI user, if I want to use Fabric just for my Power BI experience, I can still do it. I do not need to delve into other experiences. It's absolutely separated for me. However, if I am a data engineer come data Power BI user, I can use both of the experiences in like it's tailor-made for me, like it's stitched together seamlessly. Now, so what's the result? The project focus goes where it should be, and you succeed in your analytical journey rather than getting spending most of the time to get all those products work together, right? Now, also because and I reiterate this, because Fabric is a SaaS platform, you do not need to configure anything. It allows you quickly to provision or run any type of workload or job. Behind the scenes, you have Spark pools ready and running for you, right? You do not need to provision compute for Spark. You do not need to provision compute for SQL engines or DW units, right? So everything is there. You can scale up and down as needed, be more agile and responsive to changing businesses. So if you need more capacity, you can have you can scale up or down. If you feel you need to pause and resume, you can do that too, right? Now Fabric is bringing this.
I have one question. Sorry to interrupt.
Sure. Go ahead.
Getting my voice?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah. I think it's too early to ask, but I have that curiosity since beginning when Microsoft Fabric announces separate thing inside that. So as you said, inside Synapse we have different things. For example, in case of the dedicated SQL pool, we get charged based on the data warehousing unit, right? Yeah. But how costing is different here as compared to the Synapse? Or if I need to talk about the dedicated umbrella inside Synapse, we have a different thing: serverless SQL pool, dedicated SQL pool, where we get charged based on the compute or how much data we are processing. How it is different from Synapse here in Microsoft Fabric.
Right. So in Fabric, you still have those different engine, SQL engine, you have Spark Compute, etc. However, they are all abstracted. So the only thing that you need to deal with is the compute. So at the end of the day, every job that you run, every activity that you do uses compute, right? Certain kind of resources. That kind of resource, the resource would be reported to you through capacity metrics, right? And the resource metric is termed as compute units, CUs. If you see the billing information currently, it's in public preview, but still if you see the billing information, you would see that a lot of workloads are already emitting the resource information in the capacity metrics, right? And everything is in the form of CUs. But behind the scene, SQL engine is running for you, Spark is running for you, Vertiback engine is running for you, right? But you don't need to take an account of those. You do not need to provision those. You do not need to manage those anymore. Everything is managed by Microsoft at the backend. What you need to understand is how much compute units are being used for each of the job, right? It's absolutely abstracted. You do not manage, that overhead of managing engines is not there anymore. Absolutely made easy, right? So every compute unit that you use is charged from the Fabric capacity that you have. The Fabric capacities will have limited amount of CUs for each of their schemes. So you would be using those CUs, and of course, everything would be reported via capacity metrics app, where you can see each and every job detailed up to what kind of compute, what amount of compute is being used by operation tool. Does that make sense?
Yeah, here comes one more question. So if I have to scale up and scale down, what I can say, the spark engine behind that, how it happens here in Fabric.
Okay, so the scaling up of Spark engine, it's not yet very much decided yet. Still in public preview, please remember. Currently, you can scale up your capacities. The Spark compute is being allotted dynamically. There are some settings available which you can have. However, the scale up and scale down is not very much decided yet. I think we should wait up till GA to know about this. There are a lot more details coming in. There are a lot more features coming in. So let's wait up till GA. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Super.
Yeah,
As Abhinav said, let's post your questions maybe for later. I have a demo coming up. Let's look at the demo maybe.
Yeah, sure, please. All please post your questions or raise hands, and the moderators will post these as soon as we have a break or towards the end of the session. Thank you all.
Yeah. I'll put up a Q&A just before the demo, maybe for 5 minutes. We should be okay. Okay. Quickly. Good. What next? Let's talk about enabling Fabric. So how to enable Fabric, and let's move to a quick demo itself. Why not? Are you able to see my screen, Abhinav? Can you please confirm?
Yes, it is visible. Yeah, please go ahead.
Sure. So let's go to app.fabric.com. First of all, your tenant admin should be actually getting this up for you. So let's move to the admin portal. And if you see here, users can create Fabric items. This should be enabled either for the entire organization or for specific security groups. So it should be much more. You can have a look from here, right? So your tenant admin should be able to activate this, enable this. If it is not enabled, then for sure you won't be able to use Fabric. But if it is enabled, you are not able to use, that means your tenant admin has specific security groups and you are not in that group. How would you know whether you have Fabric enabled or not from a user point of view? If you click on this Power BI icon, you should be able to see all the experiences here, along with this central home screen, of course. Now, note that the licensing requirements are a little bit separate here. If you are a free user, you do not need to have a user-specific license for Fabric. If you're a Fabric user, that means you either are in trial or you are added as one of the user in a capacity, Fabric capacity, right? You can be a free user, you can create Fabric capacity workspaces, and you can of course create non-Power BI Fabric items like pipeline. You can create data flow, you can create lake houses, warehouses, etc. However, please note that you still need Power BI Pro licenses for creating Power BI items, right? For creating Pro and Power BI Premium work in Power BI Premium workspace, you still need Pro licenses, right? So currently what you can do, your organization can enable trial licenses for you. Go ahead and have trial licenses. You can have Fabric capacities spun up in Azure's portal. Currently, I believe Fabric capacities has been, if you are spinning up from Azure portal, they are not charged, they are not billed, but I think from August 1st or September 1st, it would start billing. Premium capacities, which are Fabric enabled, are already being billed, please note. Okay, good. Let's move to the previous slide. Actually, I wanted to talk about this point, approach as an opportunity. So you know about Fabric, right? You know how Fabric is causing a buzz in the analytics industry. What should you do next? Go ahead. Approach this as an opportunity. This is a public preview. Things you are getting a lot of computers free, right? The trials are having like P1 behind the scenes or F64. There's a lot of capacity, believe me. Go ahead, try it out. Try uploading some data. Try out the end-to-end tutorials. Understand what your organization can utilize how your organization can utilize Fabric, right? So let me go to this part too. You have end-to-end tutorials in your documentation. So go ahead, try all of them. The data is available. There are sample data sets available already. Go ahead and try them out. This is an opportunity for you to make a mark. This is a step in your career growth. Go ahead, try it out, I would say, right? Good. Saying that, I am not able to find. Okay, licensing requirements. That's all. We are now going to move to a demo. Before that, I'll take a couple of questions if that's okay, if you have. Otherwise, we can move ahead with the demo. Do we have any questions, Abhinav?
I do not see in the chat. Dhruvin, any from the YouTube yet now? All right. A minute for the audience, just in case anyone wants to ask for next couple of minutes. All right. Then we can go ahead, Sam.
Good, perfect. Okay, let's go ahead. It's going to be interesting. Okay, let's go to my Fabric. So let's go and create a new workspace. Okay, so we'll name it as Fabric Demo for 29th. Okay, now if you note, let's go to the advanced section, and I have a trial license available to me. Okay, I go ahead and apply and I create a new workspace, which is Fabric enabled. Now I want to see all my artifacts. I go to Power, irrespective of whether I'm in Power BI or in Data Factory. Please don't worry about that. You can go here and you can open all your experiences. Remember, they are all in preview. Okay, now from here, let's first create a lakehouse. Let's okay, so I'm creating a lakehouse. Correct. I do have a workspace. That's interesting. If you see this, my lakehouse already created. My lakehouse would create a table folder and a file folder. Okay, let's move. And if you see this multi-tabbed approach that they have provided us. So let's go to my Fabric demo, and I would see my lakehouse created with an SQL endpoint and a default data set. So every time I add tables inside my lakehouse, my default data set would be populated with that table. Okay, and I can start creating a report with it. Currently, lakehouse is empty, no tables, so there's no use of creating a report, but we'll do it later. Just for some time. Now go ahead. Let's go ahead by creating a new data flow Gen 2. And I will import from a Power Query template that I already have. It's easier rather than creating a data source gateway, and etc. So in this Power Query, I am accessing some files and accessing some files from GitHub, and this step is already there in your end-to-end scenarios. Go ahead and do it. So you see, I have everything here. Okay, so I will say, okay, now I can add my data destination as lakehouse. Okay, my lakehouse will have, say, suppose, so they should be populating it here. Okay, let's start by deleting some of the things already. I would not need customer, so I'll be deleted. I do not need, I need date. So what I'll do is I'll transform one of the parts. So we'll do it as date time, because I know date time is an issue in uploading to Parquet files. It always needs to be in date time. Everything related to date needs to be in date time. And I want to save it in a data destination, which is lakehouse. Let's see if I have already. I should have already, which is weird. Okay. Let's try it out somewhere else. It's not populating, sadly. Okay, fine. Let's look at other workspace where I have created everything. It's weird. Okay. So this was my data flow, which I wanted to create. It's already created, and if you this opens correctly, for that matter, you would see there is no data destination, right? There's no data destination. Let's put some data destination here if it's creating. It's a problem bug today. Okay, let's move on. Let's check how we can do it. Okay, fine. So let's move on. Let's go back to my new workspace that I've created. It's quite inconsistent, isn't it? Okay, so this is the workspaces that I've created. Okay, good. Now let's talk about a little bit about the one workspace OneDrive. Sorry, OneLake Explorer. OneDrive, OneLake Explorer is similar to how you have OneDrive Explorer, right? You can integrate or establish a link between your desktop and your OneDrive for Business or OneDrive Personal, right? Like I have here, OneDrive Personal. So OneLake Explorer actually gives you the ability to see your files, which is there in your Fabric experience, in your own personal laptop. So the moment I sync here, I would like to see. I hope it syncs, yes, and you would see the demo, Fabric demo 29 July, right? So let's open that. I see my lakehouse is already there. Okay, if I open the lakehouse, I have files, tables, and warehouse systems. This is a very interesting warehouse system. There is the SQL endpoint. So inside the files, I will create as a folder, suppose. It's as easy as that. So let's put up other BIMs, and I will like to copy two of my files here. Yes, and I would also like to copy domain names here, right? So the moment I do this, it will automatically sync to my OneLake or my workspace. Let's go. So if I open my lakehouse, let's see if the files are, yes, the files are here, right? So OneLake Explorer is automatically syncing my files to my system. It's as easy as that, right? As you upload it to OneDrive, you upload it to OneLake. Right, now how can we see the files? We can see the files from here. Yeah, is my CSV, looks good. Let's look at other files. Yes, I can do that. Now, these are my DIM files, okay? I would like, because my lakehouse, my default data set would be created from tables, I would like these files to be converted as tables. Now, earlier I had to write a Spark code, but now I don't have to. Fabric UI gives the end user the capability to load to tables directly. So Fabric has innate capability to convert files to Parquet files. CSV files to Parquet files is what I mean. So if I load it here, and let me do that the same for Power BI file, date files too. So I'll just change the name to dim customer and dim date. Okay. Yep. So I will put this dim date and load. This is perfect, right? So the moment the dim customer is finished, do you see here? My dim customer is already in my tables. I don't have to write a single line of Spark code. As simple as that. But you can always choose to write a code, right? You can open a notebook and write a code. I will not write a code today because we are talking about self-service users. And I want to specifically show how self-service users, without the knowledge of having, Spark, without everything is available in Fabric UI for you to start your data curation and data insights journey, right? Okay, good. So I have dim customer and dim date here. I would like to see this files. Let's see if I can see it here. Yes, I can see it in my preview pane. I hope it's loading. Yes, it is. Perfect. Okay, now there's one more thing. I would like to add a shortcut from my other lakehouse. So I've already created a lakehouse here. Okay, so if you can see, I've already created a lakehouse in my 28th July demo, and I would like this lakehouse to be a shortcut in my current lakehouse. That's interesting. So I go to other dims here and I say properties, and so I will take this URL, which is copied, and I will go to workspaces, 29 July, the test H, which is already there, and I will create a new shortcut. Now this shortcut would actually is an internal shortcut, which is okay. I actually didn't need to copy anything. Sorry for that. So I just choose my test lakehouse from my demo for 20th, and I say next. And I would like to choose some files. I do have customer and date files already. Let me check from other times. I can check. And let's choose from Fabric demo data and create. Okay, so I have this shortcut created. Like, okay, let's show in this also I do have these files, right? Now I would like to, and this is a file shortcut from my other lakehouse. I would like to have loaded to tables. So I'll load this to tables. Right, my dim product is loaded. And I would also load my finish without writing a single line of code. Please don't. Okay. Here I am waiting for my data flow to work. Let's try it once more. We'll move to my older demo. Okay. So I see my backed online sales there. And I'll see if I can add data destination to my lakehouse. It's flickering. That's bad luck.
Your trial capacity has this happening. We also experienced
Yeah.
at times.
At times, I know. Yesterday it was working. So I mean, on 20th it was working. So that's fine. Let's not delve too much into it. So in short, what we have done is we've created this data flow Gen 2 and we have made sure that the destination is added as lakehouse. And let's move to my older one. Let's move to the lakehouse here. So if you say here, let's do it again. So my fact online sales is already here. My dim date is here. Customer is here. And of course, I can go ahead and do product store. But don't worry about that. We have already shown how we can move to tables. So let's move. Let's see now what next, right? I do have everything in my tables. What next? Let's go. So this is a lakehouse mode. We can start querying in the SQL endpoint mode. So at the top right corner, you will see SQL endpoint. We will query the same data using SQL endpoint. Let's do that. Right. So if you see, oh my God, it looks like as SQL server, SQL database has been provisioned for me behind the scenes. Let's start doing some SQL query here. So if you are an SQL person, you can just start. Yep. And so let's run it. And everything would be here. So you can imagine the amount of querying that you can do. You do not need to, earlier I used to see Power BI users importing data into Power BI and then start, bringing data to query things. That's not the way. You have SQL editor inside your Fabric to start querying and looking into your data. You can merge, you can, query cross tables, cross database, cross lake houses. Absolutely do it. You can query a warehouse and a lake house. Absolute fantastic. Without any trouble of provisioning, without any trouble of your authentication, right? If you have access to it, you can query it. As simple as that. So this is when a professional knows SQL. What if a professional doesn't know SQL? Let's go into visual queries. There's something called as visual query, which is much more interesting. So I want to go to fact online sales. And what I would like to do is, this is absolutely awesome. I would not like a lot of data. So I do not want delivery date. I do not want any discount information. So what I'll do, I'll go and remove columns. This is as simple as you do it in Power Query. As simple as that, isn't it? So, okay, my visual query is ready. Okay, now I would like to maybe join it with my date. Why not? Let's look at the date table. I see my date table is, my date key is text. Let's change it to date. I can do that. And then I can combine this two as new. Okay, we would like to do a dim date and fact online sales, and we would not, we can change them. We can just do, let's do an inner join. Okay. Okay, so let's this and this. Perfect. Now we have merged into a new source. Let's have a look at the data at the new source. Okay, while it's happening, you can imagine the amount of transformations you can do here just by dragging and dropping things, right? Every capability that's inherently there in Power BI is by default there in your visual query. Not only this, once you do all the visual level changes, etc., the final query is also available through ViewSQL. Note that this ViewSQL capability is currently very limited. However, the scope will increase. You would have all kind of complex calculations translated into ViewSQL. Yes, note that ViewSQL can sometimes might not happen because a lot of times the query folding might not work behind the scenes. So make sure that is happening. So your ViewSQL should be available otherwise. Okay, so it seems it's taking longer time, which is okay. But note that all the data will be here and I will be able to download this Excel file too. This is absolutely awesome. What else? Now this visual query is very helpful to me and I would like to share it with others. So I would like to move it to shared queries right now. And I would name is to be shared with colleagues, right? Okay, good, fantastic. What else can I do? Let's go back to my demo 20th July. There's one more thing that I can do. We have always faced this issue of, scheduling or orchestrating data flow and data set refreshes. Sorry, I don't think through in at specified time or maybe an event-based trigger. Currently, there is a capability which is added in data pipelines where you can run data flows. There's a data flow refresh activity, and you can schedule it and trigger it with different other kind of activities. I don't know why it's not happening. So let's have a look. So let's add a data flow activity and settings. I will change it to this and let us add Outlook activity. So on success, I would need a mail in my inbox. Yes, I can do that. Once I have done, maybe after the mail, I need the certain notification in my Teams. Yes, I can do that too. I can configure my Teams and give me a moment, and that will also show. So I have after my data flow is triggered, I need a mail in my Outlook and a mail in my Teams. This is currently limited to data flow, but in future, Power BI dataset will also be here. So by default, earlier Power BI dataset refreshes were through APIs and all, but you will have a specific activity in future, right? So let's have a look at the settings. So I can say Swayam and right? I can add my subject, which can be a dynamic content, and my body too, right? In Teams, if I go to the settings, I can go to a specific channel maybe. Let's see if I have any channel, demo tenant. So yes, I have testing fabric. And of course, I would like to paste in a specific channel, which is general. All right. Note, because there is dynamic content too, you can loop into different channels. You can parameterize everything, right? This is absolutely fantastic. And I will at least validate and save it for now. Subject is required. So that's all. So if you run it, it would run successfully. Good. What else? So now we have a lake house. What we can do with it is there are two things we can do now. First, there is a default data set which is already created, and you can see it here, the default data set, and we can start creating our own report. Because I do not know what exactly the data set is, I would like a general definition of a report, maybe a report automatically created for me so that it can help me understand some of the KPIs that's there. So I would say auto create a report for me. The moment I do that, Power BI automatically creates a report for me with the underlying default data set. Now remember, default data set will include all the tables in your lakehouse. But if you want to create with specific tables, you need to create. You can do it on your own from desktop. We'll see that too. So right now I have my report already created, which looks good. It's fine. I can edit it, or I can do some data modeling changes also. Right now, this is grayed out for me. This is going to be available to all of you. Remember, there's one more point. When you auto-create this report, this data set is already created by Lakehouse. That means you do not need a pro license to create it. But the moment you use an SQL endpoint to start creating your own Power BI dataset from desktop, you would need a pro license to refresh, right? Okay, let's see that again. So there are two ways of creating. So this is one report I have created, which looks okay. Let's go to Lakehouse again. I would create a new Power BI dataset. This is my web modeling view. Okay, so I have the flexibility of choosing 3 different tables or n number of tables. Of course, not all the tables by default. So this is my manually configured dataset, web model dataset rather. Okay. And here you go. So I have my date key, which is given. And give me a moment. We will have some questions. Okay. Okay, there's some issue. Okay, interesting. Dim customer key. Let's see with the customer key. Only when we create something. Do we have any questions? I think we can have some questions while we proceed.
All right, Sam. In the meanwhile, if we can post, there was the first one from YouTube, from Saurabh. That was he says that great session so far. Thanks, Saurabh. And he has a question that will Power BI continue to exist as an independent service, or it would be accessible only via Fabric experience? I think that's something intrigues a lot of people.
Yes, Power BI will be there. So if you're saying that if Power BI will be independently existing as a service, no. So Power BI, there will be no app.powerbi.com anymore. There will be app.fabric. Yes, if your tenant admin, if your organization decides not to have Fabric, they can always disable it and continue using Power BI. Right?
Okay.
Independently.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
That's one. Second, you have also this provision of having premium capacities, and tenants can tenant admins have a choice, delegate Fabric access, Fabric capabilities, Fabric enablement to different capacities. That means if I have 3 capacities, premium capacities, and I want to have only one capacity as Fabric enabled, I can enable one capacity with Fabric and other 2 remain as premium capacities. And in those capacities, other Fabric workloads cannot use, only Power BI can work. Does this make sense?
Yeah. Right. And can also relate where you have lot of federated models. You have within a enterprise, you have different BUs who have their own capacities, and one BU wants to go with Fabric and another BU does not. So probably Absolutely. This is what will come to the next queue.
That's where the delegation comes into play. You can have Power BI working out independently for Power BI premium capacities. Remember, for Fabric capacities, currently there is, for that matter, even in Power BI premium capacities, if Fabric is enabled, there is no way to restrict workloads to certain user. So suppose I would like my tenant, my capacity only to use Power BI and pipelines. I do not like to use the lake houses or warehouses, etc. That is currently not possible. But we are doing some research. We are taking feedback on that. If you think, do post on YouTube. Maybe I can capture this as a feedback from my user group, from our community, and take it back to our product team, right? So that's not there. But yes, Power BI will still be there as a service. However, the scenario is a bit changed. However, you can still utilize it independently if you would like it, if your organization has decided
to. One thing.
Is there any cost difference? Is there any cost difference between a Power BI license and a normal Power BI service and a Fabric license?
Okay, so cost difference, yes, there are cost differences. So if you have the current Power BI Premium will not have any cost differences. Remember, the cost will remain the same for Power BI Premium. It's not going to change. But remember, at the end of the day, it's the CPU which matters. With Power BI, maybe you use only 20% of your capacity. With Power BI and Fabric, maybe you're using 100% of the capacity, right? So you are utilizing CPU at the end of the day. Cost will remain the same. So yearly contract for premium workspaces will remain the same. For Fabric, there are two different types of SKUs. One is the pay-as-you-go, which is currently out. You will say the pay-as-you-go is a little bit higher, is on the higher side because it is pay-as-you-go. There is another SKU which will come in GA is the yearly or the yearly SKU, which is similar to Power BI Premium, and the charges would be similar to Power BI. So for Fabric, it is a F64, which is equal to P1, and they would be priced on a same level, I think.
Right.
So the pay-as-you-go model is a bit different. However, the reserved instance, which is similar to how Power BI Premium is reserved, would be on the same lines.
Thanks, and this is really insightful in terms of costing and licensing. One additional question on the same line I have is if Power BI Premium, what we understood, brings along Fabric features with it in going forward. So what we saw on the first slide that you showed that Power BI, if you already have a Power BI Premium, the moment you turn on Fabric enablement, you would not have to pay anything extra, and all Fabric features would be available for you inside the Power BI Premium capacity. Is
Absolutely.
that a fair statement? Okay.
Yes, it's a fair statement. It's a correct statement. But note that earlier you used to use only for data set refreshes, interactions, and paginated reports maybe for your Premium. Yeah. Now you would use it for more workloads. That means the usage would be more, right? Your Power BI Premium resources would finish quickly, to put in layman terms. There might be a need of more Power BI Premium, but the question that an organization that needs to answer is, would you like to go ahead with Power BI Premium or a Fabric capacity, right? This would be based on how much Fabric you would be utilizing in future, because at the end of the day, it makes sense to buy a Fabric capacity because it has a scale up and down. So if you have worked with embedded capacities earlier, it's similar to that. You can scale up and down from Azure portal, right? You can turn an F64 into F28, 128. You can pause and resume, which is very important. These couple of capabilities are not there with Premium right now. You cannot pause and resume in Premium. So why not have a Fabric capacity instead of procuring Power BI Premium altogether? And why not have it pay as you go? I know we pay a little bit more, but with the capabilities that we have in Fabric for pause and resume and scaling up and down, it makes much more sense sometimes to have a Fabric capacity.
Right. But yes, as of now, customers who have Premium, for them, it becomes a lucrative offer, right? To onboard Premium capacity as well, right? Because they get Fabric added to the Premium, what Premium was already offering, right? As long as it doesn't hit the CPU limits.
Absolutely. And don't forget the trials. You do have trials till GA.
Yeah.
The trials. You can just activate it, enable it for users, and those users can create n number of workspaces and make others as admin. I'm just giving out the tricks, tips and tricks here, right? So that becomes a very lucrative. That becomes an opportunity here to go out and play around and understand how your business, how your team can leverage Fabric going forward, right? This is the time that you try.
Right. And a trick here I would also like to quote is that if you add anything to any workspace to Fabric capacity, it becomes available to everyone with a free license too.
Absolutely, because
it behaves like a Premium.
It acts like a Premium, and everybody with free everybody becomes a free user, right? You can go ahead and start creating Fabric items. Right. Yes. Now you would say there are not much regulations or not much guidelines around who should use what, the roles. And yes, that's correct. But that's something we are planning to introduce in GA. There's a lot more regulations. There are a lot more rules in terms of how better Fabric workloads and artifacts can be shared and managed within a certain namespace. They're coming. Right.
Awesome. All right. So proceeding on to next question. This was one from Shubham earlier. He asked while you were discussing the file formats, like we had CSV. So what all file formats OneLake supports? I believe it's not supporting Excel yet, but anything?
Yes, it's not supporting Excel. It cannot recognize Excel. CSV, JSON formats, any other unstructured formats it supports. I think even though it supports almost every other file format, there are some file formats which we are trying to get natively integrated. Like CSV is natively integrated, right? You can load into tables. Why not JSON files? Could we do it for JSON files? Maybe not. And could we do some iceberg files, coming from Snowflake? Maybe not. We were trying to have those natively integrated, but yes, all the known formats for now are available. Are compatible in Lakehouse for now.
Thanks, Swam. Kumar, you're up next.
Hey, Swan, thank you so much. It's been an amazing session. I learned so much from this. I have one question. Considering the various analytics offering that Fabric is providing, like Power BI, next generation Synapse, and Data Lake, OneLake, how will I manage the security layer onto MS Fabric? Is it needs to be managed at the Azure tenant level, or shall I be having something in the near future wherein at the Fabric portal I can manage all the securities at different layers?
Okay, so that's a very, very good question, Kumar. I think I'm going to answer that with one word: one security. There's something called as one security coming in, where in all your Fabric artifacts, all your user group management, permission management is going to be integrated within Fabric. Yes, okay. There is going to be a certain overview level permission management in Azure for getting the subscription for getting your provisioning your capacity. However, that does not that is absolutely separate. Every artifact permission management, workload permission management will be centrally located within Fabric. That's a part of one security.
Okay. Thank you so much. And I have one more questions, and this comes when I wear a business hat. There are many companies that want to explore Fabric, and they are using the legacy structure of having a lake, having a mart layer, and then a Power BI report. What's some pieces of advice you will give to some companies that are wanting to explore Fabric but are quite skeptical of the fact that they should not want to take the leap of faith from the legacy way of doing things to new way of doing things?
I know the legacy's ways are still the correct way. Fabric is still in public preview. I would rather ask to go and play around, mount your existing ADLS storage data lake into Fabric. Try out. Please do not put your sensitive data into Fabric yet. I would not advise to do so. But yes, go ahead, mount your data lakes here. There would be provisioning of mounting ADF in future, maybe other Synapse dedicated warehouses in future in Fabric. For now, you can definitely mount your past storage, which is ADLS. Go ahead and mount it and have a look. Work out your current systems in a way that that works out with Fabric. Now, there is one more thing. Suppose some of the organizations are working with Synapse, right? They are trying to migrate their data platform to Synapse. Should they move to Fabric? They should absolutely start thinking about that. How would they do that? Start thinking, because at the end of the day, underlying Fabric components are Synapse components, right? Why not plan your Synapse platform in a way which is absolutely compatible, code compatible with Fabric. Yeah. So maybe plan through that. There is no easy way of migration. Again, there might be some migration guidelines that might be coming in future for GA, but there might not be easy way of migrating everything, right? There is mounting capabilities, there are other capabilities available, but still businesses need to plan accordingly. So for now, I would say start playing around, start uploading through smaller files, maybe start playing around. What are the capabilities? Then envision what the business needs in future.
Right. Completely makes sense. Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah.
Okay. I think we are at the top of the hour, but I would like to have questions if there are any.
One more, Swayam. It's so intriguing, this session, and thanks for addressing all these questions. One more around, while you mentioned one security is coming up, we have seen Purview being integrated as well. Not a lot of information yet available. Sometimes the link works, sometimes not. Is it working on your tenant, and what's in Purview for that? I mean, do we still need to pay for Purview and then this piece works for Fabric, or it is coming bundled up with Fabric?
Purview integration with Power BI is still not very complete. I know when we say Purview integration, we would like to have Power BI dataset scan, lineage scan. There are a lot of things that needs to come in with Purview. Purview is still very much limited. There are some things coming in which I'm not at liberty to speak, but I would say have a little patience. There are some, I can talk about few of the things, but it's better that we get some documentation around it first, and then we explain things and we demo things, if that's okay. But yes, there are lots of innovations going on in Purview. Purview is something which a lot of organizations are looking for, Purview integration. So the team is exactly working on those asks. If you think you have any organization, if your organization is asking for Purview integration, do drop a note to me. I would absolutely love some feedback around how your organization actually looking for Purview integration with Fabric.
So I have one question.
Go ahead.
Very layman question from a development point of view. You already know Microsoft heavily invested already in last 2-3 years in Microsoft Synapse. Okay, and Microsoft convinced their each and every customer for the Synapse. It's good. We have data advantages, disadvantages. So what's Microsoft plan in terms of Synapse and Fabric in near future? How Microsoft is going to convince their customer for the Fabric? Because when we have already migrated our on-prem application into the Synapse, it's not going to be easy to again migrate into the Fabric, right? And there is a lot of confusion is going on around.
Yeah, so there should not be any confusion. Let me tell you this, Synapse is not going to go anywhere. If your organization is decided Synapse, of course, it has decided based on n number of conversations with Microsoft, n number of discussions on the future of Synapse, what are the new things coming in Synapse, etc., etc. Synapse is the correct way to go. Yes, there's one thing that's happening. There might be the new addition in Synapses might be late. However, Synapse is going to be there. Like it's going to be there for the next 5 years at least. So go ahead with any kind of Synapse decision that your organization has made, any organization has made, and there would be in future, if any organization wants to migrate from Synapse to Fabric, there might be some migration plans out there, migration guidance is out there to do that too. Does that answer your question, Shubham?
Yeah, it's going to be a relaxing Sunday for me now. Thank you.
Yes, good to hear that.
Right, and adding to that, I was in one of the Microsoft sessions and one person asked that what will happen to Synapse. And the Microsoft guy said, we are not announcing anything to be deprecated in near soon, even though we have some tools like MDX, no updates has been there since 10 years, but MDX is still running as it is.
Absolutely, so, MDX is like running hugely. tabular model has not found its place like multidimensional model
Right,
has.
right.
A lot
Right.
of organizations with legacy systems are still dependent on that SQL Server Analysis Services multidimensional model.
True.
Right.
True.
Right, that's still very famous. If you, I know my manager Chris Webb just gets a lot of MDX related questions. I get a lot of MDX related questions on what do we say, on the platform. So MDX is still there. The whole Excel behind the scene works with MDX, right? So yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Chris is also coming on board soon. I think next month, Kumar.
October 11th.
October 11th. Okay.
Yeah, superb, good. I'll be
Yeah,
attending that
he's
then.
pretty passionate about that. Yeah, but yes, he did mention that we are never going to cloud with the. We'll go to manage. We have gone to manage instances, but never go to as such a cloud offering for multidimensional. So I said, okay.
That could not make the cut.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, as said, fabulous service, but still going on strong. Similar, Synapse will also go on strong. It will become stronger with time, I would say, because a lot of organizations have only started with their Synapse journey. They are still yet to reach that peak level. They would be going on forever. Yes, Fabric is an option. Remember, Fabric offers a different kind of option to you. It's an option for citizen developers. And of course, it can handle enterprises, the enterprise data platform at scale. However, it's also for self-service users, right?
Right.
Because currently we are seeing a huge spike in citizen BI developers, self-service, and we have received this feedback saying it's so hard to provision things. It's so hard. It's not simple at all. Why not have a simplified platform? There you go. Fabric it is. So yeah, I think both Synapse and Fabric can coexist. Yes, there are confusion. There will be confusion with a lot of tools, a lot of options already available. But I think we still will be there. Yeah.
Right. Makes sense.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Swayam. I know we can go on for another hour and
Yeah, I could have
have
gone
lot of
with Power
questions.
BI Direct like forever. I
Right.
haven't reached there, but yeah, shortage of time. You can never complete in time these things. But yeah, looking forward for talking more about Direct Click. Actually, this is one of the biggest innovations that we have in Fabric. Let's talk about that sometime.
Sure, Swayam. And thanks so much for joining on Saturday. I know it's always hard to take out time, but thank you so much for doing this for the community in large. And we really appreciate this time and everyone who joined. I mean, we all are here for learning and listening and really interesting questions. We discussed a lot about some of the unknowns that we had about Fabric, learned a lot, and we can always take this knowledge back, impart to our clients, and also apply in our upcoming implementations or architectures that we create here for henceforth. In terms of Fabric, the
Right.
items that we are looking at, many venues open up from here. So thank you so much, Sam, for your time. And
Thank you so much.
I would like to also say on behalf of all other organizations of the Delhi Power BI user group that thanks for your time.
Thank you so much for including me. Thank you. Please
Thank
take
you.
care. Have a nice day, everybody. Thanks.
Thanks much all. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.